Hi, welcome back. Or if you're just joining, my name is Maya, and welcome to my channel, Cranleyplace, where I'm focused on Hermès scarf style, inspiration, and more. Before we get started, let me give a shout out to all the channel members, and special welcome to the knot connoisseurs and elegant insiders. I appreciate your ongoing support. If you haven't seen the membership options, please do check them out. In this video, I'll review a cashmere giant triangle from Hermès' Spring-Summer 2026 season called Equateur by Robert Dallet. We'll take a look at the artist's background and design lineage, the design inspiration and the visual architecture, and then a collector's ranking of the available colorways and why. Let's get started! Equateur is probably one of the most recognizable wildlife designs in the Hermès archive, and a fabulous opportunity to revisit the work of one of the house's most beloved animal artists, Robert Dallet. Among Hermès collectors, Dallet occupies a rather unique position. Many Hermès artists are known for equestrian subjects, decorative arts, mythology, or graphic abstraction. However, Dallet's specialty was the animal kingdom, and not animals as symbols or decorative motifs, animals as living creatures. Before working with the house, Dallet spent decades studying wildlife, traveling extensively through Africa and Asia, and developing a reputation as one of the finest painters of big cats in the 20th century. What distinguished his work was his commitment to observation. He wasn't interested in stylized interpretations. He wanted anatomical accuracy, natural behavior, and an understanding of how these animals actually moved through their environments. That level of study is immediately apparent in his Hermès designs. When you look at a Dallet scarf, you never feel that the animals have been placed there merely as decoration. Instead, they feel present, alive, alert. The original Equateur was first issued in 1988 and quickly became one of the defining wildlife scarves in the Hermès archives. Over the years, it has reappeared in numerous formats, including 90-centimeter carrés, gavroches, shawls, twillies, such as in this current collection, and now this giant triangle, which speaks to the enduring popularity of the design. And I think part of that longevity comes from the fact that Equateur sits at a fascinating intersection of two collector communities. It appeals to Hermès collectors because of its history and artistry, but it also appeals to people who simply love nature. You don't have to know anything about scarves to appreciate the beauty of a jaguar, rendered by Robert Dallet. And that universal appeal is one reason the design continues to return generation after generation. Equateur takes us into the tropical forests of South America. The composition is populated with jaguars, exotic birds, monkeys, butterflies, and lush vegetation, all rendered with extraordinary naturalistic detail. What makes the design particularly successful is that it never feels crowded, despite the abundance of life. Dallet understood how to create hierarchy. Certain animals emerge first. Others reveal themselves gradually. The eye moves through the composition almost the way one might move through a rainforest itself. You notice one creature, then another, then another. The experience unfolds slowly. And that's one reason Equateur rewards repeated viewing. Even longtime collectors often discover details they hadn't previously noticed. Some archive designs struggle when translated from a square into a triangle. However, Equateur is not one of them. In fact, I would argue that the giant triangle may be one of the most successful contemporary interpretations of this design, because the triangular shape creates a natural focal point. Rather than presenting the entire jungle equally, the format encourages the eye to travel through the composition. Animals emerge from folds. Leaves appear and disappear. Color fields expand and contract depending on how this triangle is worn. The result feels dynamic, almost cinematic. The cashmere silk blend also transformed the design. Traditional silk twill tends to emphasize detail and precision. Cashmere introduces atmosphere. Edges soften. Colors blend more gently. The wildlife feels less illustrated and more immersive. There's an almost painterly quality that emerges. And because this is a giant triangle, much of the design is experienced through fragments rather than a complete image. That's important. Equateur is one of those rare Hermès designs that arguably becomes more wearable when partially obscured. A glimpse of a jaguar, a flash of tropical foliage, a fragment of a wing. Those details create intrigue without overwhelming an outfit. There are at least 6 colorways that can be found online in the various regions. Starting with the Blanc, Vert, Anthracite, my top collector choice. With a mood of sophisticated naturalism, in daylight this reads crisp, highly detailed, and with a museum-quality clarity, while indoors the anthracite deepens dramatically, creating a beautiful contrast. I expect collector appeal for this one to be extremely high. With its timeless nature, this is a colorway that feels most likely to age beautifully over decades. The restrained palette allows Dallet's work to take center stage. Nothing competes with the drawing. And because the colors are relatively neutral, the piece integrates effortlessly into a wardrobe. Next, we have the Bleu Marine, Bleu Cobalt, and Naturel, the strongest dramatic choice. Exotic and elegant in mood, in daylight this reads with rich saturation and depth, while indoors the navy becomes luxurious and enveloping. I expect collector appeal for this one to also be very high. It is timeless with a strong visual presence, and the palette feels distinctly Hermès. The cobalt injects energy while the navy grounds the composition. It also frames the wildlife beautifully. This is a particularly strong choice for collectors who enjoy darker color stories. Next, the Naturel, Vert, and Multicolor, the closest to a classic Dallet experience. With its rainforest realistic mood, in daylight this is exceptionally vibrant, while indoors the greens become richer and more immersive. Collector appeal for this one should likewise be very strong. It is slightly more youthful but still enduring. This version embraces the biodiversity of the original design, and for wildlife enthusiasts, this may actually be the most emotionally satisfying colorway. Then we have the Blanc, Vert, Multicolor, the most illustrative of the colorways. Bright, optimistic, and celebratory in mood, in daylight this reads with maximum visual clarity, while indoors it maintains its brightness remarkably well. Collector appeal for this one should be broad, slightly more youthful in nature. This is the version that most resembles a natural history illustration. Everything feels vivid and alive. Next, the Naturel, Orange, Alezan, the warm Hermès collector's choice. Autumnal, equestrian adjacent, and inviting in mood, in daylight this has beautiful warmth, while indoors it feels particularly rich and luxurious. I expect for this to be strong amongst established Hermès collectors. Timeless in feel, the alezan and orange tones create a subtle connection to the leather heritage of the house. A very elegant interpretation. Then last, but certainly not least, the Rose Bonbon, Vert, Bleu Marine, the fashion-forward choice. Playful and unexpected in mood. In daylight, this reads with high energy and contrast, while indoors, the pink softens considerably. Collector appeal for this one, I expect, will be more selective. It is the most youthful of the group and feels distinctly contemporary. While beautiful, it is likely the most polarizing amongst long-term collectors. What continues to make Equateur special nearly 4 decades after its introduction is that it transcends category. It's not simply an animal scarf or an archival design. It is a work that captures Dallet's extraordinary ability to combine scientific observation with artistic beauty. So there you have it. More on this design from Hermès' Spring-Summer 2026 collection. Please like and share the video if you enjoyed it, and let me know what you think in the comments. In future episodes, I'll share other scarf reviews, inspiration, and more, so be sure to hit that subscribe button to be notified of new videos. Thanks again for joining me today. Until next time!